What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pitts. Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live. Listen, it's going down all things HBCUs. And who else better to start it off with them Bowie State Bulldogs? We coming to you, Bowie State Bulldogs, total access. We got the Morgan State Bears. Listen, all HBCUs information, all HBCU news, sporting events, updates. You get it live here with Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, Comcast Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11 is going down. Don't you miss a beat.
Listen, it's only the beginning because it's early still.
And it's
We're gonna be here all day.
all day.
What's going on, everybody? You know what it is. It's your boy Pitts. Pitt Sports Zone, Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Bowie TV, coming to you live once again this Wednesday evening with the coach, Bernard Clark Jr., a.k.a. Through the Eye of the Tiger. Is going down. What's up, Coach?
What's up, Pitts? How's everything going, man? Feeling good.
I'm good, man. I'm good. No complaints. And before we start, man, I got to give a shout out to Smart Water and Staples. Appreciate the sponsorship and everything that they do for Pitt Sports Zone and Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio. We are grateful. Anyone else, any other companies looking for partnership, sponsorship, get at your boy. We're always readily available. Coach.
Let's do it.
Hey, before we tap into the football side, man, talk about the mood on campus. Robert Morris put up a good fight.
They did, man.
In the March Madness.
It was outstanding, man, to be honest with you. When they won the conference championship, they got us all together and we, welcomed them back on campus. Big cheer. They had a little media here for them. And it was special, man. And then I'll be honest with you, I was in Florida, man, for spring break, and I'm watching those guys on TV competing against Bama. Those guys did a great job, man. They fought. And that's all you can ask for a young man. If a young man's going to go out there and give you everything he has and fight to the end, that's all you can ask him to do. Bottom line is, they didn't get outplayed, just got outscored. Nope. I mean, that's the great thing about it. So.
They fought. And one thing that you said, they literally, kept playing until the clock hit zero, to where they were able to cut the lead, even within a good minute and a half. So tremendous job to the Robert Morris University Colonial men's basketball team and their advancement and the success that they had in March Madness this year.
Absolutely. And it's great. Like you said, it's great for the campus, man. It's great for the atmosphere. Obviously, the athletic department's on top of the world, being able to do that, win the conference championship, and then go and play the way they played against Bama. For a minute, man, I thought they were going to pull it out. When they went up, I think it was 65 to 64, something like that. They went up. I was like, okay, these cats about to do it in. They didn't hit that three going back down. If they didn't hit that three, I think the place would have erupted. But, it's one of those things where, like I said, all you can ask for young men is to play their hardest and give everything they have. And that's what those guys did.
Absolutely. How much of that infectious spirit, because, I can only imagine when they arrived back on campus, what that atmosphere was like. And, as the football team watching another athletic program within their organization return back to a crazy amount of love. How affectionate is that for the football team and all the other organizations seeing that and wanting a piece of that as well?
Well, I don't know when spring ball. I know that scrimmage on Saturday picked up a little bit. I think our guys' mindset's in the right place as far as when you see a team win a championship on your campus, like you said, that's infectious. That's contagious. Yeah. You want to have that mindset. Right now, our softball team is leading the Horizon League. Our men's lacrosse, they're leading the NEC. So they're on pace to get some things done too. Our women's cross country team, they won a championship. Our women's soccer team, they won a championship. So there's some things happening on Robert Morris's campus, and it's contagious. And these guys, it's like you said, it's infectious. And I think these guys want to kind of catch a hold of that. They want to get bit by that bug.
I think I saw where the ladies, the softball team, beat Pitt 2-1.
Yes,
I think
yes.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. I mean, they're playing through the roof. And again, that's just a compliment to Chris King, who's our athletic director, who does a great job of putting these things together and getting everybody on the same page. And us as head coaches, we're always celebrating each other's wins, always celebrating each other's victories. And Coach Jacks, the softball head coach, and Coach Toole, the men's basketball coach, great job. They're doing an outstanding job right now.
And before we start, man, I want to give a shout out to Nick Dalton, the running backs coach,
Troy. I don't want to butcher his last name.
Rothenbuehler.
Like Roethlisberger, but Rothenbuehler.
There you go.
Okay. Anthony Sassone.
I'm not even gonna try.
Coach.
Sassone.
Yeah. See,
it's Sassone.
Marshall Cooper, linebacker coach.
Much easier.
And Derek.
Coach Zoo. Just call him Zoo.
Yeah,
Coach Zoo.
There you go. Welcome to Colonial Nation, man.
you just named 4 guys that 3 coaches on defense. Coach Cooper is our linebacker coach. He took over when Coach took off, and he's getting the wrath of me. You know how it is when it comes to linebackers. I played it, so I'm constantly on it. But he's doing a great job. The energy he has, and he coaches these guys in an extension of himself because he also played the linebacker position. He was a walk-on at Tennessee Chattanooga that earned himself a scholarship. So his mindset is right where you want it. And Coach Sansoni, and I know I'm butchering his name, Coach Anthony, he's going to do a great job in the back end with the safeties. Again, he's one of those guys. Both those guys have been coordinators. Coach Cooper came from Charleston as a coordinator, and with the school that Coach came from, a D3 school, he was also a coordinator. So their mindset's a little different when it comes to defense and how they want to play the defensive side of the ball. And let me tell you something, man. Coach Zoo, who's our new D-line coach, when I was interviewing him and I called some of his references, one of the guys I called, he said, Coach, you're going to think it's fake, but he's excited every day at practice. I was like, the first 3 days, I was like, okay, we'll see. My man's like that every day, Coach. I mean, every day he comes out, he's getting the defensive line pumped up in every drill they do. He's excited about the plays that are going on. He's excited about what's happening. And those 3 young coaches are going to do a great job. And Coach Troy, he's coached at every level. He's coached at Division III. He's coached at Division II. He's coached at FBS. He's coached at FCS. He's coached in the NFL. So he brings a vast, majority of knowledge to our football program. He's going to do a great job. Even when I called the school that he was at last time, Youngstown, and they let him go, the coach spoke very highly of him. There's not one person I didn't talk to about Coach Troy that didn't speak very highly of him. So we got ourselves some coaches here. The guys that are working, they're going to work their butts off. They're going to get these guys in the right direction, push them in the right direction, and getting things going in the right direction.
How much of that experience, especially coming when, everything now is being implemented over, right? It's a new system. It's that experience that he brings, that wealth of knowledge, when you talk about the different various, whether D1, D2, D3, NFL, et cetera, when you talk about the wealth of experience and knowledge that he has and that he can provide, that bodes well, especially when everything is being implemented at the same time. He's able to give an outside look to his players of an experience they would not have been able to endow.
You're 100% correct. And the positive thing about Coach Troy, Coach Rothenbuehler, the thing I love about him, when he was doing this interview and I asked him, I said, Coach, so what kind of offense are you going to run? He said, Coach, to be totally honest with you, I have an offense, but it's much better if I learn the offense you guys have there now, where only one person's got to learn and the other guys I can work within what they do. So a lot of the things we're doing right now, we kind of doing what we did last year. I'm not giving away any trade secrets. Everybody's doing the same thing. Right. We're doing a lot of the same things we did last year. We just call it something different. He's going to put a wrinkle here and there. Obviously, he's going to put his touch on it. But it's a situation where he's going to get after. He's going to bust his behind. He's going to make sure these guys are in the right position, getting the things done. There's a couple of tweaks here and there, but for the most part, our guys are still learning, what they've been learning over the past few years. The tough thing for us, Pitts, is in 23 when we came in, we had the coordinator came in. He was here already. So we did what we did in spring of 23, guys were clicking. Spring of 24, guys were clicking. We had a lot of the same guys. We just brought in 25 new guys. And so that's the whole thing. You brought in 25 new guys, and you brought in a new coordinator. You brought in a defensive line coach, safeties coach, and I moved our, safeties coach over to tight ends. Coach Tansky over to tight ends. I think to specialize more about special teams. I want him to really be able to concentrate on special teams, worry about one position as opposed to two positions with safeties. And it's a big change for him. So it's a situation where we've come in to change. We've done some things, and right now, usually in this state here where Troy's new, the defense is going to be a little bit ahead of the offense. Because defense is all about reaction. So whatever play they run, defense just has to react to it. So they're playing a lot faster right now than the offense. So this past week in the scrimmage, the thing is, started out early, defense jumped on them. But as we went on with the scrimmage and guys started feeling a little more comfortable with the offense, they moved the ball down, punched it in the end zone. So there was some give and take on Saturday that I really liked. But Coach Rothenbuehler is going to do a great job with those guys.
Absolutely. And before we get to Saturday, I wanted to also touch, because you said you brought in 25 guys. So, albeit it's a new system, it's not new for them because everyone is learning basically at the same time.
Yes. And that's the great things, like you said. And there's no preconceived notions on Coach Rothenbuehler's part on who's good and who's not good. He's getting a fresh set of eyes. And I'm not the kind of coach who's going to step in and say, hey, this guy needs to play, this guy needs to play. All these coaches will step in and say, Coach, I think this guy can do it. I think this guy can do it. Well, you got to get him to do it. And that's what it boils down to. So when we sit and we have meetings and the coach said, well, he needs to make this step. He needs to do this. He needs to do this. He needs to. Everything that we talk about is coaching responsibility. And I love when Coach Tomlin says he loves when coaches, shy away from being responsible coaches, from coaches' responsibility. Because when you talk about a footstep, you talk about concentration on the ball, we talk about stuff like that. That's coaching things. Now, if you say a guy can't run a 4.4, that ain't got nothing to do with coaching. You just can't run a 4.4. When it comes to catching the ball, when it comes to taking the proper angle, when it comes to that's coaching stuff. So everything that we've talked about as a staff, when we talk after these meetings, when we're done with these meetings as a staff, I constantly remind the coaches, hey, guys, everything you just told me is based on you coaching them. It ain't nothing physical. It ain't nothing ability-wise that we're talking about. We're in the second quarter of what we call the fifth quarter. In the second quarter, as I told you last week, it's all about fundamentals and technique. And that's what our guys need to concentrate on. So the thing is like we're struggling a little bit right now. And I told them today, hand placement and footwork. You tell an offensive lineman, hey, make sure you get your head on the front side of the guy. He may get his head over there, but his feet aren't in position. So now his body's out of position, so he can't get there. So those are the things that as a coach, you got to coach out of him. Those are things as a coach, you got to tell them, hey, you got to move your feet. You got to make sure you're doing this work with your feet. That's not coaching. I mean, that's not ability. That's coaching. That's making sure he's where he's supposed to be at. Now, if you tell him, hey, you need to run out there and smack that safety, at a certain speed, he has to run as fast as he can to put himself in position to make that block. That's what it boils down to. So that's the great thing about the opportunity that we have as coaches right now in the spring with 25 new guys, with 4 new coaches and another coach in a new position. That's the great thing about it, is that we have the opportunity to coach these guys up in the direction that we want to go in.
Absolutely. Want to definitely give a shout out to Solly. That's what Aunt Patty used to call him, Solly. Solly back home in Pittsburgh. Appreciate you for tuning in, cousin. So one of the things that you said that I really appreciate, right, is that nowadays offensive coordinators, in my opinion, I'll say that, in my opinion, offensive coordinators, they have a system, and what they do is they come into a program and they expect those players to master that system. Now, I think there's a gift and a curse with that, right? Because I think you can have an expectation and want them to learn it. And now if they just can't get it, that's different. But when it doesn't suit the skill set of the players to the plays that you're calling, or when it seems unsuccessful, the approach, the system doesn't seem to match the talent and the personnel that you have. Is there a moment when the head coach steps in and say, hey, coach, I don't think this isn't working. We're getting nowhere.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You got to be in a position. And I've said this time before, and I got it from Don Strock when I was at FIU, and he used to say it all the time. It doesn't matter what you know as a coach. It only matters what they can execute as players. So you can have all the knowledge in the world in your head, but it doesn't make a difference if they can't get it done. I guess I always think about, I don't know if you've seen the 30 for 30, the Bullies of Baltimore, when they talk about the Baltimore Ravens and that year that they won it. And I know you don't like it.
I don't really pay attention to this ops specials. I don't really pay attention to ops specials.
Okay, so I just tell you, this is how it went. So it's a situation where they were struggling on offense because the coach, he was a passing coach. He wasn't a run game. He wanted to throw the ball. Well, the quarterback they had wasn't getting it done, but they had a defense that was unbelievable. So that coach made a decision. We're going to play to the strength of our team, which was the defense. So we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball more. We're going to put ourselves in position where we don't need to score a ton of points. Our defense just needs us to score, if they can score 7, that's how they felt they can win the game. So that's a coach understanding the personnel he has. And that's the thing that's important, is when coaches understand, especially head coaches, understand the personnel you have. If you don't have a running back that can catch out of the backfield, you got to become creative. You can't keep throwing passes to the running back out of the backfield. Doesn't make any sense. So 100% in what you're saying, at some point, the head coach has to step in and say, we don't have the guys that can do what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
make sure we understand it doesn't matter how much you know, it only matters what they can do and what they can execute as a team.
Absolutely. So last week there was a question after we got off. It was posted on the YouTube channel,
Okay.
and the question was in regards to the offensive line. We talked about how you lost a lot of those guys up front. Are there any concerns, or what are your thoughts as it pertains to the offensive line for you?
Well, right now it's a matter of getting some continuity because we did lose some guys. I mean, we're only bringing back one guy, that started last year that had some playing time, and that's Mofi. I can't pronounce Moses' last name, so I'm not going to butcher it. So it's one of those situations where he's the only one that's come back. We had some other young men that played in some games last year, but they weren't starters like Mofi was, So
Okay.
So the continuity is probably the most important thing when it comes to offensive line. This offensive lineman has to know that this guy's making the proper check and giving me the right call. So if there's a blitz coming off the edge, I got to make sure I'm getting the right call for my center to know what's going on. So that's kind of the hiccups we're going through right now is like guys may miss a block because, he didn't point it out to me or whatever the situation may be. But the great thing about it, we're finding the guys that are going to get it done. So, and we may have to take a tackle and put him at guard. Or we may take a guard and put him at tackle. Or we may take a guard and put him at center. But we got to get the best five out there to have the best continuity that we're going to have on the football field. They have to be able to play together. It's important that offensive linemen learn to play together, and that's what we're trying to find right now. We're trying to find those five guys that can do it for us.
Take us through, you alluded to the spring game or the spring scrimmage that took place. Just give us a walkthrough since we talked a good week and a half ago, how things have progressed and the team and how they have looked.
Well, the thing is, the scrimmage, we'll do the same type of scrimmage this week. It's called the control scrimmage. It's something that it's called a situational scrimmage, should I say. And the reason what I say by that is like the first part of the scrimmage, I did all run plays. And the reason I did all run plays is because I want to make sure we can run the football. And the defense couldn't blitz. The defense couldn't run any stunts. All they could do was just line up and play. So I wanted to see if the O-line understood on 4th and 1, we got to get this first. On 1st and 10, we got to make sure we get some yards. So those are the things we did in run defense. We ran our first scrimmage, was just run. All we did was run the ball. And like I said, no blitzing, no line movements. And the defense tore them up. I mean, we had one big run, but other than that, out of the 16 plays we ran, they stopped them for 15 plays. We went to the pass game next with all passes. Again, no blitzes, no line movements, just strictly pass plays. It's probably about 50-50. The offense put up some numbers, the defense put up some numbers. And after that, we did a third down situation where we had 3rd and short, 3rd and long, whatever. Probably about 50-50 again. But then we went to the live. Like I said, the defense was eating them up pretty good. But we went to the live stuff. We were moving the ball and actually went to some scrimmage. Offense moved the ball down, punched it in the end zone. We made some vital mistakes on defense, leaving some guys open. But we got some good work out of it. And I didn't even realize when we were done, Coach said, we had 96 plays. I said, we'll be all right. And so it's one of those things where, we got to get it done. We got to get it done. The thing about football, because you can't hit as much as you want to hit, like right now in the spring, we can only have 3 scrimmages. Out of 15 practices, we can only have 3 scrimmages. We can have a couple of live drills here and there, but that's it. So there's no much hitting like when you were in college and I was in college, where you can hit every day and tackle every day. So you got to make sure these guys are going to be tough enough and be able to make the plays. And the thing that's driving me crazy about the defense right now when it comes to making tackles, a lot of these guys are stopping their feet on contact. They're not running through the ball carrier. They're dragging him down from behind. Or they doing that crazy where they drop the hip and tackle the guy, which I don't like. Let's just tackle him. Let's just get him on the ground. Let's make a good hit. Let's put him to the ground. So those are some of the things we're working on. So those are the things we're working on as a defense. And offensively, like I said, sometimes offensive lineman's not getting his head across. He's not bringing his feet. His pad level's too high. Our running backs, and I'm probably spoiled because and I know last year we had 3 good ones. We don't have those 3 good ones right now. We're still working some young pups. We got some freshmen. We got a couple walk-on guys who are trying to earn a spot. So it's a little different back there right now. So it's kind of running back by committee. So we got to make sure these guys are on point doing what they're supposed to do. And we don't have, we don't have Lucas. We don't have Landon Lucas. We don't have Lucas Landon here anymore. And Landon's at, where he is right now. So these young guys, we got to get them to come through. And we don't have Noah. We don't have Sean Charles. We don't have those receivers anymore. So again, we got to make sure that continuity on offense, because you know how important that is. They got to
Right.
be cohesive. They got to know what's going on. They got to run the route at the right distance because everything's about timing on offense, where everything's about reaction on defense. So, like I said, defense is
Right.
a little bit ahead, but the offense is coming along strongly.
I love it when, when you talked about the controlled aspect of it, right? Because, there's moments in the game when, it's 4th and 1. The defense know you're coming and we know we're going. It's man on man. It's who wants it more. And I think it's the sharpening of the mindset in those situational awareness moments
Mm-hmm.
that makes and shapes the team to say, I want this. This is my moment.
Mm-hmm.
And things of that nature. So
Yeah,
I
you're
think
100% correct. You're 100% correct, Pitch. And like prime example, I ain't mean to cut you off, but a prime example would be we'll probably do some goal line soon. Well, you got to know if the ball's on the 1 yard line, you can't tackle the guy low now. You have to hit him in his face. You tackle him low, he falls over you, he goes into the end zone. You have to
yeah.
know that you got to hit him head up. You can't dive at his knees. You can't dive at his legs. You got to be a man and hit him in his mouth and see if you can keep him out of the end zone. So, like you
Absolutely.
said, you got to be aware of what's going on. When it's 4th and 1, you can't hit him low. You got to hit him in his mouth. You got to keep him from getting 1 yard. If he falls forward,
Yeah.
that's a yard. So, like you said, when you know it's coming, you know it's about to happen, can you still stop it? When you know it's
Right.
coming, can you still get that 1 yard as a running back? Can you run through that guy if he does hit you high? Can you get that 1 yard we need? So that's what I like about the situational scrimmages.
And then, but even in those moments, right? Because the defense has to play man up, right, straight up, and it's the moment where the offense in this controlled environment, the iron sharpen iron method, right? Because the defense knows we can't stunt, we can't over, we can't shove, we can't rope. Like I'm man on you, you man on me, and I think it's that mindset because when you get into a game, it becomes cat and mouse, right? A team can go for it on 4th and 1, but it's not necessarily that they're going to run the ball, right?
Right.
So in that moment, it's a guess. There's no control in that. But in these moments when you're able to control it, you instill a will in your team that says no matter what, when it's this particular down, we know we got to give every single ounce of grit that we have in order for us to make this play. And can I count on, and another thing, especially when it comes to the offensive line, can I count on a man to my left and my right? It's one-on-one job. I know I have my job to do, but you're also accounting for everybody else to do their job as well. Because the moment one person, don't misses their assignment, it can alter and throw everything else off.
Absolutely. And you're 100% correct. And it's on both sides of the ball that you have to do that. Like I'm a defensive guy, you know that. And the thing
Uh-huh.
that's important to me when it comes to plays like that, like I'm one of those guys when the defense starts reeling or offense starts getting the ball, a lot of guys want to get into a blitz mode. A lot of defense coordinators want to blitz in that situation, try to slow them down. I'm just the opposite. I believe that your base defense has to be your best defense. I believe that you got to be able to line up against them one-on-one and get out. And again, it's probably because of where
Uh-huh.
I played college football at, and we always had a D line. The one thing I love, and I know I'm kind of getting off track a little bit, the thing I loved about the Super Bowl this year, my man Clint Hurt and that defensive line, bro, that Eagles defensive line, I think they blitzed maybe once or twice, but that fourth
They didn't
down,
have to.
they were
They
destroying
didn't.
them with the foot. But again, that's what I'm saying, and that's the thing about it. They knew that
Yeah.
this front four is about to get after them. This front four is not going to be able to stop them. And so when you can do that, when you know that you have a front four that can get after people, like you said, I can count on my teammate. It's 4th and 1, man. This cat, he about to beat this block. I'm not worried about him beating this block. That's
Yeah.
the important thing about it. And offensively, we know we're running counter. They know we're about to run counter. I'm gonna drive you off the ball, and we're gonna get this 1 yard that we need. So again, it goes back to, can I trust the man next to me to get it done?
And I love that. I love that you pointed that out because that's kind of the angle that I was going when I was talking about the O line and D line. Because at the end of the day, football is won in the trenches. Nothing
Absolutely.
happens. Nothing happens beyond the offensive line and defensive line. No game is won or lost just with running backs, quarterbacks, and receivers. It's all about the protection, or it's all about the pressure.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about the Eagles D line, what fascinated me the most in that game was that they made it clear that we don't plan to blitz you at all. And we've seen players over time on that line ebb and flow. One player have a good game, this player have a good game. It's rarely that the entire D line straight dominate the entire game to the point where, you're chipping and you only rushing 4 and you got 5 linemen, and now they bringing in Travis Kelce, a tight end to chip, which now you're taking more receiver eligible option receivers away from a route because now they got to help deal with 4 down linemen. And that is why I say the mindset, the iron sharpen iron, because in a given play, any given down, you should always have that thought and that feeling that we got this. Like, let's do what we practice. Let's do what we were built to do. Let's do what we've been working on this entire time and get it done. I think that when you see moments of 4th and 1 and you see an offensive lineman get beat badly by a D lineman, there was fatigue, mental fatigue kicked in, and they allowed the mental fatigue to overtake the physical exertion, or it was a lapse in judgment, a lapse in underestimating the man in front of them. And you can never tell with the man in front of you how much energy and how much grit he still has left until he hits you. And that's what I love so much about football. You can't tell how I'm gonna hit you until y'all hit you. And then after that, you can get up and say, oh, it wasn't that bad, but who's to say the next one ain't? And that's what I love about the trenches. It's always, the trenches is love and war.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. I mean, the thing about it is Philadelphia didn't do a whole lot of substitution on the front line either. You're talking about guys that they weren't gassed, they were getting after it. And that's another thing that's extremely important to me. You got to find that one dog defensive lineman, that Aaron Donald, who's going to play the whole game. He may come out on 10 snaps, but that's it. He ain't coming out after that. And that whole D line, they played dang near the whole game. And they did some substitution, don't get me wrong, but the predominantly front four, the 4 down to 4 that started, they dominated the game the whole time. And see, that's what we're trying to get after. And that's what we're trying to get to, where I understand the front 4 are going to get it done. Same thing with offensive line. Like you said, ain't nothing like an offensive line, man, that moving the ball downfield, moving, and the defensive line is getting tired. They can't stop them. They can't do anything, and it's killing them along the way. I don't know if you watched the one, we're talking about the Bills, and I know it's another team you don't like because they're in the conference, but they were talking about the Bills when they beat San Francisco that time and how they did the hurry-up offense and how the O-line was just frothing at the mouth because they were just driving it. They couldn't stop them. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't hold up. I'm sorry, the Raiders. They couldn't hold up. They couldn't last, and they were just dominating the D-line because they were tired. But they were bowling them right over. So when those guys have that mindset up front to where they get to a point where, oh, this cat can't handle me, they don't stop. They don't surrender. They know how to beat him into submission. That's why I love O-line and D-line.
They say once a pit bull tastes blood, it's a wrap.
That's it. You know it and I know it. Once that happens, once you get that gravy and that pork chop on your hand, he going to bite it off.
I would love to see a game when Robert Morris plays against Pitt.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it either. Hopefully it'll happen.
I'd love to see a game.
It's supposed to happen in 27, so we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I'd love to see a game where Robert Morris plays against Pitt. Not going to hold you too much longer. The last thing that I wanted to ask you about was give us the morale of the team, right? Because you have a lot of new players. Just give us your take of what you see in the communication amongst the team, being is that it's gelled with a lot of new pieces inside of it.
Well, it's coming together well, and I think the reason of that is because of the coaches that are on staff now. It was kind of, at first you don't know because you don't know who you're going to bring in and have to run those rooms. When you bring in a guy like Coach Zoo and Coach Koo, and Coach Anthony, and you bring in Coach Rothenberger, and you move Coach Tansky over, and you get Coach Dalton in there. And we also got, Terry Smith's nephew, Tank Smith. And Tank here is one of our volunteer coaches. He's an assistant volunteer coach on the offensive side of the ball. So those guys are helping these guys come together. So I'd say the morale is right where it needs to be at. The most important thing last year with our guys, I thought, was they were able to criticize each other and compliment each other. And when you get to that point where your players are running the culture of your team, that's the important thing. And I think we're getting to that point where our players are trying to understand the culture and what we're trying to get out of it. And the coaches are doing a good job of instilling in them what we're trying to do and trying to embrace what we're doing. Absolutely.
Listen, Coach, I appreciate you as always. You know what it is, through the eye of the tiger. Pitts and Coach Bernard Clark Jr. What other dude can't get tired of these faces.
Let's make it happen, baby. Let's go, Bobby Moore.
You already know what it is, man. It's your boy Pitts from Pitt Sports Zone, Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Bowie TV. Listen, follow me on everything: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's going down. Tune in in about 2 weeks when spring camp is over. Then after that, we get to the meat and potatoes, dog.
Absolutely. Much love, Pitch. Much love.
Yes, sir.